It's all about the macro productions.
What does the goddamn line say, Tony?
Please do not use gendered language.
Then what? I'll be arrested, put in airport jail?
Well, you're going completely sideways, man.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
How dare you?
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
I'm Chris Hansen with Dave on NBC.
Jack Marius Tac-Theratrix.
Hi, I'm Spartacus.
Jackson, Sacramento, he, him. Steven Seagal.
Sex offender guy.
I'm Keith Morris.
This is Muammar Gaddafi.
I'm Rick James, bitch.
Sorting through the lies.
The hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that.
We cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
And uncovering the centuries-long plan for world domination.
Learning about Cuba, having some food.
Let's talk about Chinese people.
Have you ever been in a Turkish prison? Swangles in Fort Lauderdale?
I have sent 6 of my Libyan missiles to blow up the CS hardware department.
Nothing could be more fun than jumping off a cliff with 2 German bisexuals.
Oh, you English are so superior, aren't you?
Thank you, comrade.
And now, macroaggressions.
That's what assholes call it.
With your host,
Buddy, I don't know who you are, but you're about to get chlamydia.
Charlie Robinson.
Hey, Whitey, where's your hat?
You want to drop the blame on Charlie and say it's all Charlie's fault.
He was a retard.
I get some goddamn diuretic.
Welcome to Macroaggressions. I'm your host, Charlie Robinson. If you're watching us on Rockfin or Rumble, or you're listening wherever podcasts are served, thanks a million. We could not do this without you and without the support of our amazing audience. If you haven't rated the show already, please consider giving us a 5-star rating. We're fighting that stupid algorithm battle. I personally don't care if you rate the show, but since we're going to fight the fight, let's fight it to win. And so I encourage you all to go ahead and rate the show and subscribe to it. And if you want to connect with me, macroaggressions.io is the best place to do that. You can find information about the podcast and the books, and also Activist Post and Natural Blaze, the newest additions to our family over here. Please consider getting your news every day from Activist Post. Our sponsors are fantastic. They help to keep this show going. We got a new one, Van Man. Go to vanman.shop and find all kinds of let's just call them bathroom items, things that you're going to use. I've got the tooth powder and the peppermint aloe mouth rinse in my bathroom, so I can't hold it up to show you, but I can hold up the Van Man tallow and coconut soap and the tallow and honey balm and the vanilla body butter. And it's real simple. The vanilla body butter, their ingredients, not a whole lot of chemicals here. Grass-fed beef tallow, shea butter, olive oil, honey, vanilla oil. That's it. So, natural products made by a company that is ideologically aligned with us. You should follow them on X. You'll get a good laugh out of it. They despise the government just as much as we do. Probably more, since they make products that have to get regulated by the government. So, if you are interested in checking them out, and please, all I ask is that you just go to their website and check it out. Go to vanman.shop and see what you think. And if you find something that you like, the discount code on your way out the door is, as always, macro. And since I got you here, Legal Shield has been in business for a little over 50 years in the United States and Canada. And I'll tell you what, it's a great service. They'll get you access to an attorney in your area for a very, very reasonable price. Try $30 a month. And the way they are able to do that is that they use the collective buying power of all of us to be able to get their prices down with these attorneys. So I just used them recently. You get an app on your phone. It's real easy. You just click, what do you need? And in this, sometimes you just click on it and you want legal documents. You want to get your last will and testament done. You want to get a medical directive or a financial power of attorney. They've got all that. I didn't need that this time. This time I was dealing with a collections agency coming after my mom for a cable box that was supposed to be returned. We followed the instructions. We were doing it the right way. Didn't mean that that they didn't send us to collections anyway. I just took that piece of paper that they sent to me. I called it, or I contacted Legal Shield through the app. They called me the next day. We talked it over. They sorted it out. So that's it. If you've got problems with speeding tickets, red light tickets, things like that, send it to your attorney. Let them deal with it. That's what they do. And again, if you do need these documents, if you don't have your last will and testament, you got to get that. You got to have that squared away. It's such an important thing to have buttoned up. You'll feel a lot better when you do it too. But if you don't want to spend $2,000 on it to hire a lawyer to draft all this stuff, you don't need to. Get Legal Shield. Do it right off the bat and make it the first thing you do in the first month, and then it will pay itself off for the next couple of years. So go to the website that they built specifically for our show, www.don'tgetpushedaround.com, and find out for yourself. And I highly recommend it. It's money well spent every month. So now that the business is out of the way, it's my pleasure to welcome back to the show the founder of ECI Development, my friend Mike Cobb. Good to see you, Mike. How are you?
Charlie, always great to see you. Enjoyed having breakfast with you at Anarchapulco a few weeks ago in Mexico. You know what? You are quite the individual, and oh,
that's true.
I'm sure lots of people say, but you MC Anarchapulco, and quite an honor. I mean, when Jeff Berwick's looking for an MC, of all the people out there that he could pick from, and there are literally dozens of people, you float to the top of the list, and you do a tremendous job with it as well. But quite an honor, and always great to see you and be here today with you. Well,
great. It's always great. We've sort of turned our breakfast into a routine that we do every year. There we go, have breakfast, find out what's going on. I appreciate the nice words. Yeah, it's a big honor for me to MC in Acapulco. It's been such an important place for me. I've met so many amazing people there. I met you the first year I came in 2019. Yep. You'd been there for years, but that was the first year for me. And I look forward to seeing you in Puerto Vallarta next year when they make the big move. How do you feel about that? I think it's probably better logistically for them.
I think logistically it's a lot better, but I also think it's going to be funny that they're going to keep the name Anarchapulco in Puerto Vallarta. But yes, but yeah, no, I think it's wonderful. The programming is phenomenal, as you said. I actually think it's one of my, in fact, I have 2 or 3 favorite events that I speak at about 40 to 50 live events a year. Wow. And it is one of the top 3 favorite events. I just love being there because of the people, seeing you, getting together. We talk about all kinds of fun stuff, but it's a tremendous event. And so, yeah, it's going to be a good one next year. I think the logistics, the growth of the event, it's kind of busting at the seams, right? So they need a different venue to make it work. Hey, I'm totally unrelated, but I got to come back. How much, I don't know if you're allowed to say, how much is Legal Shield? I think that was what it was called, but the thing you were just talking about at the beginning, holy smokes. I didn't even know that existed, and what a brilliant concept, really.
It's the best money. It's the best value. There'll be some months when you don't use it for anything, but it's $30 a month, so it's like $1 a day.
Oh my gosh!
But when you do need it, when you need to draft documents and things like that, it's unbeatable. I mean, you do that in the first month, and then you go, oh, this is so easy.
Yeah.
I wonder what else I could use it for. And then things come up. I actually really hope people use it if their work is asking them to sign some new employment agreement that has language that says, oh, you agree to take these shots, or you agree to this or that. And you got to go, you go I feel unrepresented here, I got to keep my job, but they want me to sign this new thing. The idea that you have legal representation for that, and it's easy it's really easy, and that you just push a button on your it's like a drop down menu. I think everybody should have it, and I know that not everybody's eligible because it's only in the U.S. and Canada. But if you are, and I'll tell you one of the nice things too is that for people that run small businesses that need legal representation, maybe not all the time, but they need to have it. They have a small business plan too, which is great. So it's a little bit more. It's like an a la carte feature you add on to your service. But if you need that, they've got it. And people that carry guns, they have documentation for that and everything. There's a lot over there. they've got an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, and have been doing it since 1972.
Wow.
So
that's a track record. Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's great. I got hooked
That's
up.
Phenomenal.
I got hooked up with them through Tony Arterburn at Wise Wolf Gold and Silver. You might have met him at an Acapulco. He's the big guy, and he's been with them for like 20 years. He's been using them for a long time. So I was like, dang, man.
Well, and the one thing you said at the beginning, if all you did the first year was get a will, which I can't believe the number of people who don't have a will, right? But I mean, like just that would pay for the service for probably 2 years in most states.
Oh yeah, right? For sure.
I mean, I think a will's about $500, right? I don't know.
It depends on where you go. If you need like a medical directive, financial power of attorney, and a will, you can get it. You can get it all done probably for like a couple $100, $1,000, whatever.
Yeah.
I went through this recently. This last summer with my mom when she got really sick, and she had she's super organized, and so she had a binder. It was like things to do if I die, and it was like open it. It was like the will, and everything was in there, all laid out. I was like, this is the most. She's the most organized person around, but I realized that not everybody's like that, and if I had been in that situation that I kind of got dropped into, which was that she got diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer and given 90 days to live, and she was not feeling very good. That's not the time to go get your will done. That's not the time to get the medical directive and everything. It's like, at that point, it's too late. You're dealing with somebody that is not really. So it's like, I try to kind of convey to people, whether it's for Legal Shield or just anything in general, really, like, let's be proactive, like let's take care of these things before they become a problem, because when they become a problem, then it's more expensive. I mean, everyone can like make the analogy of your car, if you're not taking care of your car, and then like your engine goes out, it's like, it costs a lot of money. Why weren't you changing the oil, dummy? So you kind of have to be a little bit more attentive and proactive. And if you are, then you can save yourself a bunch of money. I just was glad that my mom had all that stuff buttoned up. And what's funny is that I've been talking about last will and testament and everything. My wife and I need to go and update ours because so much has changed in our life since we last did it. And I'm like, well, listen, we're just going to go, we're just going to use Legal Shield and knock it out again. Like that, it's just easier to do it. So
that's right. And by the way, I like the word proactive. I think it's probably a good jumping off point into some of the stuff we want to talk about today.
Yeah.
But proactive, right? I mean, like, get on it.
Yeah. Right? I've got your book, Beyond Borders. Get it right the first time. I'm holding it up. Oh my gosh.
Charlie, I am so sorry. Email me. That was the pre-release copy. So hold on to that, because that might be worth millions of dollars someday.
Well, it is probably because I got your autograph in it. I've got
There you go. Well, I send me your physical address. I want to mail you the full release. This one is now available on Amazon. How to Buy Your Home Overseas. But I like the second part better. Get it right the first time. Okay.
Yeah. So let's talk about getting it right the first time, because
boy,
there's nothing more expensive than regret. And if you make a mistake on buying something overseas, and I talked to somebody, it was 2 years ago at an Acapulco, and she did it wrong. She moved to Mexico and bought a piece of land and started this process of construction and didn't know what she was doing. And she walked into and she was escaping Canada, so she was just happy to get out of Canada. So in her mind, it wasn't a huge failure, but she started to, she said, I probably should have lived here first for a little while before I did this, and I probably should have known a little bit more about it. So she was, ready, fire, aim on this, and not a great strategy. But you have some real logical and I think easy to follow steps for people that are thinking about this, and more and more people are thinking about getting out of the United States. So what would you tell somebody like their first, Mike, I live in the U.S. I know you build all over Central America. I have this fantasy of packing, selling the dry cleaners and moving to warmer weather.
Yep.
What do I do first? Are you telling them to pick a country first? Or are you telling them to find a place that's a little bit more residency friendly or passport related? What would you tell someone when they're first setting out on this mission?
Great question. I don't think I realized this was going to be a 4-hour podcast today.
Right. We can go as long as we need to get it right.
But you know what? I mean, that's such a big question. I mean, literally, that's what the whole book is about, right? The whole book is answering that question. But let me boil it down to a couple really simple things. The first thing I would say is, by the way, I think it was Socrates who said, know thyself, right? So we need to know ourselves. And the better we know ourselves, the better decisions we are going to make about the when, where, but the why. That's the know yourself, why, right? But the when and the where, those and the how, right? Those three questions come after the why. The why is what we have to figure out first, because if we do that, we know our motivations. And if we know our motivations, then we can begin to analyze what our goals are. What do we want to achieve? What is it that we're really looking for? But that comes through self-reflection. So a big part of the book deals with self-reflection. The first big question, which is, I call it the bifurcation. Like, it is truly a bifurcation. Is this lifestyle? I'm moving because I want to live there for residency reasons. I like the idea of more liberty. We can talk about that later. I lived in Nicaragua for 14 years and loved it because it was a much freer place to raise my family than in the States. So, and why am I moving? Is it the weather? Is it liberty, new residency? Is it I'm retiring? Is it, what are the motivations, right? That's lifestyle. The other motivation for people to own property overseas is investment. And I think I want to leave investment off the table today, and we can circle back to it. But to answer your question, I'm going to focus only on lifestyle for the moment, okay? Because here's the reality. Investment is a head decision. Mm-hmm. It's numbers. It's return on investment. It's analytics, right? It's due diligence for sure. It's deep due diligence, right? Before we make an investment, we need to do our due diligence. But at the end of the day, the analogy I use on the investment side of things is this. If I owned a pizza parlor and hated anchovy pizza, I would still sell anchovy pizza in my pizza parlor because it's not about what I like. It's about what clients like, right? Mm. And so investment's a head decision. It's not a heart decision. It doesn't matter what I like. I am trying to figure out the best way possible to serve clients with what it is they want, right? And so that's investment. That's a head decision. I'm going to set it off to the side. Let's talk about lifestyle. Lifestyle is a heart decision. It's all heart. Now, that doesn't mean we don't do due diligence. It's not that we don't bring rationality to the equation, right? We need to do those things, and we're going to talk about what those are in a moment. But at the end of the day, lifestyle is like buying a pair of shoes. If you go to the shoe store and you try on 4 or 5 pairs of shoes, you might take, 3 of them don't fit so well, whatever, then, but you take 2 pairs home. At the end of 3 months, or some period of time like that, several months, whatever that is, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, one of those pairs of shoes will be on your feet all the time. And one of them will be moving its way towards the back of the closet.
That is true.
Yeah, because just like shoes, lifestyle is about how we feel about something. And so what we recommend, to answer your question very simply, what we recommend for somebody who's looking at owning a property overseas as a place to live, reside, enjoy, right, is to rent before you buy. Rent for at least 3 months, 6 months better. Because if you do that, a couple things, and we'll talk about maybe the process of elimination, because I think that's important too. But the simple endpoint answer is this to the question. Rent before you buy, 3 months minimum, 6 months better, because just like a pair of shoes, at the end of several months, you will know whether this place hits your heart, right? Do I like my neighbors? I mean, do I like the people around me? Have I found a community? Oh, crap, I ended up in some kind of uber controlling, non-liberty minded group of people. Because, by the way, I was talking to a couple came to Nicaragua, 2 couples came to Nicaragua on one of our discovery tours recently. They ended up in I won't say it, but a city in Mexico in a condominium community with everybody who's all about masking, vaxxing, just solid anti-liberty, just everything anti-liberty. And they are the odd fellows in this condo complex. And they found each other. These two couples didn't know each other to be, and they found each other. And it was like, oh my God, there's somebody else who believes in freedom and liberty, And so they hang together. They came to Nicaragua together. They're actually looking at leaving Mexico and looking for possible communities. That's the bottom line. But at the end of the day, if you rent for 6 months, you're going to know your neighbors. Oh, and you either love the little bar down the street and there are a few restaurants you go to, or it's not your thing. But you're only going to know that by being there. So if we rent before we buy, we will make a far better decision. We can talk about some of the elimination process too, but that's the endpoint answer to your question, Charlie.
Yeah, that's a good. It always looks good in pictures. I remember when I used to sell new homes. You'd go online. Everyone goes online first, and they would take a look at the house. They would take a look at the community, and they go, "Man, this community looks amazing." Yeah. And the prices are so much lower than everywhere else, And I can't figure out why this community is priced the way it is. And unfortunately for me, as one of the salespeople there, what I knew that they didn't know was that we were geographically right down the street from a pig farm. And when the wind would shift directions, you'd take them out, people would come out. It's a new home development. Like they'd come out, they'd look at a house. This is nice. They go through the models. This is great. Everything is fine. They go look at, I said, I'll show you a house that's already built. We take them out, get on the balcony. What is that smell? What is that smell? And it doesn't translate in photographs on the internet. You don't know that there's a pig farm down the street until you get out there and you catch one of those whiffs, and people just go, oh my God, this is crazy. I remember being out there one time and with a couple, and I went out there and I was like, the deal's dead for sure. and the woman goes, oh my God, what is this smell? And the husband goes, it's a pig farm. I grew up right on a pig farm. This smells just like home. I was like, oh my God, I might actually sell a house to these people. This is the one guy in the universe who likes the smell of pig farms because it reminds him of home. So, but I would suggest also people get out there and go take a look around. When I bought my island in Belize, I got out there with the handheld GPS and did the calculation. I walked around the edge of the island all the way around with the handheld thing and had it give me a size reading, and got out there in the water and went through the bushes and went through I walked around. I had to walk it. I had to see it before I bought it. It looked great in pictures, and it was great when I actually got there. So everything was fine. But they took us to a few other islands, and it's like, oh, I wouldn't buy this. This one's looks like a swamp. This one's got saltwater crocodiles living on it. You know what I mean? And so it's one of those things you got to get out there and actually see it. What's well, let's work through some of the countries that you build in, and let's see if we can talk about this. Let's start with, since I mentioned Belize. Let's start with Belize. How's the Marriott going?
Oh, great question. So I started working in Belize back in 1993. Started a little mortgage company back then. And so 10 years later, we actually turned it into a bank, Key International Bank. We got our banking license in 2003. And our development company, ECI Development, started working there, in 1996. So our development
You're the
company
only banker I like.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And our development company is now 29 years old. So the reason I mentioned some of that history to answer your question is, when I first went to Ambergris Caye, Belize, but Belize generally, but Ambergris Caye, San Pedro, there were no buildings over 2 stories. It was all sand streets. It was a little fishing village, and the people who went there for tourism were basically fly fishermen looking for a grand slam. They wanted to catch the permit, tarpon, and bonefish in one day. That's a big deal. It's the grand slam and fly fishing. And the other group were serious divers wanting to dive the reef. You saw almost no women. You saw no families, but you saw almost no women, mostly men staying in fishing lodges or whatever. And over time, the demographic changed considerably, where, maybe about 15 years ago, you started to see more women, a few families. And today you see everything. You still see those diehard divers and fly fishermen, right? Because the reef is spectacular. They've done a great job of protecting it. The fly fishermen are there. The divers are there. But now you see families and children and weddings and events and young people and old people and retirees. I mean, the demographic has gone way more mainstream, right? And so as we watched this type of traveler change over the last 30 years, what we really were paying attention to was, when would it be the right time to get a branded hotel product on the island? And so about 9 years ago now, we reached out to Marriott. We've had great relationships with Marriott over the last 30 years. We reached out to Marriott and we said, hey, come take a look at Ambergris Caye, Belize generally, but we'd like to have you do an analysis to see if this is a marketplace that you would like to have a Marriott, and if so, we'd like to own the franchise. And so they came, and it's exactly what they did. They looked at it, they gave it the big thumbs up. We put together, they told us architects to hire and all kinds of, so we hired architect off their list. We raised the money to build it. It was a funding group out of North Carolina. And then COVID hit. Yeah. And basically we lost our funding in 2020 because nobody's funding a tourism project when the airplanes aren't flying, right? So the North Carolina group went away. Really a tough situation. We do things different, by the way, Charlie. We only start a project when we have all the money to finish it, and that's
smart.
Well, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I worked for many developers that did not do that. I can tell you of a high-rise project I worked for. I can tell you of a mid-rise project that I worked for the bank because the original developers lost it to the bank because they didn't have enough financing. So very smart thing to do.
Well, and the sad thing in the developing world is there's almost never a bank involved. And so what happens is developers will start to build a project based on pre-sales. They'll collect a bunch of money from a bunch of buyers, and then they run out of money or run out of sales and the project stalls. Sadly, there's no bank to come in and finish it. At that point, all the people who bought condos put half the money down or whatever they put down, right? I mean, they are simply out their investment. They've lost it. And look, that's one of the reasons I wrote this book, because I want people to make better decisions. I want people to know the developer, see the financials, know that the money's there to finish the project before they put the money down, and so along those lines. Anyway, so in 2020, we lost our funding. By 2022, we had a new funding group. You'll like this. We have it depends on the price of Bitcoin, but the guy's a Bitcoin billionaire most of the time. Anyway, and so he put up $100 million of his Bitcoin as collateral for a fiat loan that we took to build our hotel. So we had 100% of the money to finish the hotel, right? And we owe him the money, but his Bitcoin's continuing to go up in price. So he doesn't have to sell his Bitcoin, right? It's just collateral. Right. Anyway, it was a brilliant deal. So we started work on our Marriott in 2023, mostly site prep. We had some permitting and some ramp up. But in 2024, we hit it hard. The hotel is now up. The steel frame is almost completed. The walls and the floor panels are going in. We'll be open next year with a 202-room Marriott resort on Ambergris Caye. And one of the things that I talk about in the book as well, and with you, is it's so important if you're looking at owning one of these, owning a residence or a condo in a project, the right question I would always ask the developer is, how many are you keeping? Right? Because most developers are selling a product as an investment, right? And I would say the Marriott, by the way, is not a lifestyle purchase. So I'll be real clear about that. It is investment only. Nobody is going to live in a Marriott hotel. You own it. It's yours. You could live in it, but who wants to live in a hotel, right? So the question I would ask somebody, if I was looking at a product like this, would be like, well, that's a beautiful condo project. How many are you keeping? And usually the answer is zero. Most developers sell 100% of it because that's how they make their money. They don't really care about the cash flow afterwards, even though they're promising maybe these great cash flow returns. They got performance that show you're going to make 12, 15%, right? Well, great. Yep. If you can make 12 or 15%, presumably you would keep as many as possible, right? Because that's great return. So just so we're clear, we have 202 rooms in this Marriott. 70 of those are for private ownership. 130 are being retained by our company. So we're keeping 60% of all the residences in this hotel because we want the cash flow that this thing will produce. So there's 70 available for private sale, and I think 40 or so, a little over half, are now sold. So there's still some inventory. And, Charlie, I mean, if you can own outright, full title, it's yours, oceanfront Marriott residence for $350,000, that's unbelievable in the marketplace. Something in the Cayman Islands would be 4 times that price. Cancun, 3 times that price, right? So, it's an incredible value proposition precisely because Belize is in the sweet spot of this curve, right? The demographic has changed. It's now mainstream tourists, which means they want product like Marriott, right? But the price appreciation that you would see in the Cayman Islands, the British Virgin Islands, whatever, Cancun, Bermuda, other places, that hasn't happened yet. So the cash flow's there, but the price appreciation is yet to come. So it's truly a tremendous opportunity for investor buyers. Let me be again clear. Yeah. Investor, head, buyers, not heart. So,
well, you make the calculation. If you're an investor, again, if you're promising, you're saying like these are the returns you can get. And they go, well, how do I know these returns are real? The answer is because we're retaining 60% of these units ourselves. If they weren't real, then we would be selling them all out the back door, and we would keep nothing. So that's actually a really good indicator. How's financing for something like that? Because in Vegas, when we got into what traditional condos, you could get traditional financing for, but when you got into the condotel product, it was a little bit more difficult. How would somebody, if someone wanted to come in and pick up a $350,000 condo, what are their financing options for something like that?
So being the banker that you love, the one banker that you love,
the one,
so our bank, we only finance about 20% of our projects, full disclosure, right? I'm on the board, I'm on the management committee. So I'm very involved in the bank. We offer developers 50% financing. So if you came along, you wanted to buy one, you would put up half the money, the bank would put up the other half of the money. It's really, really conservative lending on the part of the bank. The nice thing about what the developer now has done with that is we've said, look, we will take back 30% more. So a client can come to the table with 20% down and borrow 80%. And to the client, it's all invisible. Like the 80% happens back here between us and the bank, and one payment, they separate it. But the client can get up to 80% financing on their Marriott. Yep.
That's great. Residency?
Yeah. In fact, that's a great question. Belize has an investor residency that starts with a qualification of $250,000. So all Marriott residences are certified and qualified for that residency. The only caveat is you have to come to the table with the 250. You can't borrow it, right? So you could put 250 down on it and you could borrow 100, right? And if you put the 250, you now qualify for the residency. The thing that a couple things I really love about the Belize investor residency program, it's really flexible. It's really easy to get. And this is the best. And you look, English is the official language in Belize. Yep. So it's just like the easy button for going offshore. So, and in fact, what's been interesting is many people who've decided to own one of these Marriotts, it is their very first offshore investment, right? Again, it's Belize, English speaking, popular, safe, no wars ever. It's the safety and security country of the region, right? Then on top of that, you're talking Marriott, and you just don't any more sure about that. Right? Marriott. So, but the other thing I love about the residency program in Belize is that after 5 years, you are eligible to apply for a passport, for citizenship and a passport. And the reason that's important is, and it doesn't happen very often, but it's one of those weird little anomalies. Let's say you got a passport in Mexico or Panama, just pick a Spanish-speaking country, right? You got your citizenship in a Spanish-speaking country, right? If you were to go through an immigration office somewhere with that passport, right? Let's say Argentina, you get your passport in Mexico, right? You go through the thing in Argentina and they start rattling on in Spanish to you and you don't speak Spanish. Like, that's going to look pretty odd. Like, wait a minute, you're Mexican and you don't speak Spanish? See, right? Whereas if you have a Belize passport, like, oh, right. I mean, it's English. You're talking English. I'm talking English. It's a Belize. And so for that reason, I really like Belize as a citizenship, not so much residency, but as a citizenship destination. I really like it. And, again, 5 years, you have the ability then to apply for citizenship and get a passport, which is tremendous.
Well, let's move on. What about Panama? Because you guys have Panama's been in the news quite a bit with the Panama Canal recently here. Very Trumpian thing to go after that. Yeah. But it's got on the radar of a lot of people. People are asking questions about Panama. I remember my buddy bought a condo in Panama years ago, and it was in a high-rise condo. It was amazing. And I was like, how much did you pay for that? He's like $170,000. It was like 2,200 square feet, like a 2-story, looked like a penthouse. It looked like it would have been like a $20 million. If it had been in New York City, it would have been like
New York City would have been $20 million. That's right.
And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" He's like, "It's so cheap down there. It's just amazing." Now that was 15 years ago, but still, what is Panama? What's the vibe in that country?
Look, I mean, and this is going to be interesting because we can kind of I want to run two ways with you on this. Okay. I love Panama for a lot of reasons. And I don't love it for one. And let's talk about why I love it. Then we'll talk about the one why I don't, right? It's just sort of the but maybe, okay. So I love Panama because, yes, unbelievably inexpensive. You can still get tremendous value, not like that, but you can still get tremendous value on properties in Panama. And Panama City is just an incredible metropolis these days. I mean, it looks like Miami. It truly looks like Miami. Now, it's still a developing world. There's still issues and it's, rough around the edges, not like Miami. But as a destination, as a city destination in Central America, I'm a huge fan. It really holds together well. Again, lots of value there. The thing that I don't like, and this is the double-edged sword. The thing that I don't like about it is that it is very much U.S. controlled. The Panamanian dollar is the U.S. dollar. It's a U.S. dollar economy, right? And so you got the Federal Reserve, you got the Treasury Department. They have a lot of influence, right? And then the other thing is you have the Panama Canal, right? It is a vital strategic. I would say it's a vital strategic world interest, right? Because shipping is worldwide. All countries benefit from, free shipping. And the fact that it's, 15 days shorter to get stuff from one side of the, ocean to the other rather than going around, the bottom of South America, right? So it's a vital world interest, which means I think, political stability will be maintained, but it's also a vital U.S. strategic interest. And that concerns me a little bit because, we've already sent the Marines down there a few times over the years, but most recently to get Noriega out in the 80s, and so like, it's, so if we are super concerned about our U.S. liberty, right? And the thing is, I've been working in Panama, I guess, business wise since 1998. I bought a 100-acre cattle pasture, there. And in 1999, we planted 100 acres of teak trees there, and these trees are due for harvest next year. In fact, we just opened our sawmill a few months ago in January. Ran the first log through it. It was very exciting in preparation for the harvest on this 100 acres next year. And the nice thing is teak gives you the ability to get a residency in Panama. And it's very inexpensive. It's $22,000. You get a half an acre of teak. You get your permanent residency in Panama. It's a very easy to maintain. It's permanent residency. I love it. It really is a great program for so many reasons. The only reason I don't like it is that it's Panama. And, during COVID, they had serious lockdowns. Right. And here's what I would say, that if, and if we get to Nicaragua, we can talk a little bit about their program as well. But Panama, I think I call it a back pocket residency, right? It's one of those, if I need it, I'll be so glad I have it. But it's probably not absolutely optimal, but it's far better than nothing. Let me just say that on a scale of optimal to far better than nothing, I would put it right over here at like 95%. Like, 95% get a second residency in Panama for $22,000, have it, and be happy you have it, because, look, if can I say 4-letter words on your show? I don't know.
Please do. Yes,
okay.
yes.
So if shit hits the fan here in the U.S. or Canada, right, and you've got to get out and be able to stay out, right? Getting out's easy. Get on an airplane, fly away.
No problem.
But staying out means you have a legal residency somewhere else, like a green card somewhere else, right? So if that ever happens, I think having a permanent residency in Panama will be far, far, far better than being a prisoner of the only country you're allowed to live in. I think that's the important thing. You remember that word proactive we kicked around at the beginning of the thing. Look, right now, like not next week, right now is the absolute time to begin acquiring a second residency overseas. Because let me assure you, when shit hits the fan, and I think we all think it's likely, nothing's for sure, but we think it's likely to really hit the fan, like it's way too late. It's like saying, I'm going to do a will after I die. Like, no, you don't get to do a will after you die, right? The time to do your will is when you're healthy, I like the storm shutters, right? You don't wait for the hurricane to be battering your house with 150 mile an hour winds to decide to go put up plywood on your windows. No, you do it in a sunny day, right? Yeah. That's when you do it. And so right now is the time to begin the process of obtaining a second residency outside your home country, because when you need it, it will be too late to get it. You will not be able to get it. So $22,000 is so easy. One trip to Panama. I mean, and you get 2 quarter-acre parcels. So you get a half an acre of teak. You own the land, you own the trees, and that $22,000 will turn into a little over $200,000 in 25 years. Like you think, 25 years, Okay, you know what? It's coming. Like in 1999, I had people literally right across the street. I'm in my home in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. The Rotary Club meets across the street at the Bavarian Inn. I would walk across every Tuesday while I was going back and forth, buying my property, finding it, hiring forestry companies, all that stuff. And I remember a bunch of people sitting around the table, most of whom are still alive, right? Laughing at me, saying, Cobb, you're an idiot. You're buying a 100-acre farm in Panama and you're planting teak trees and you're not going to harvest them for 25 years? Like, you're insane, man. And I finally just kind of got fed up with it. And I'm like, look, in 25 years, one of two things is going to happen. I'm either going to need the money and I'm going to be really glad I did this, or I'm not going to need the money, and I'm going to be really glad I did this. Right? Yeah. It's been 25 years, and we're harvesting the trees next year. I'm very glad I did this, right? But the real benefit to someone on your program or people at Anarchapulco, and we've had a lot of people, we've helped over 1,000 people get a second residency outside the U.S. and Canada at this point, between Panama and Nicaragua. And I'll touch on Nicaragua in just a second. But you get a half acre of teak, you own the trees, you own the land, and in 25 years, you make a lot of money, we cut them down, we replant them, and in 25 years, your kids or your grandkids get the next harvest. And then in 25 years, your great-great-grandkids get the next harvest, right? It's powerful generational wealth stewardship. But the whole time, you've got a residency card. Hold on. You got a residency card. Like this one. This happens to be Nicaragua. I'll talk about that in a second. You have a residency card in your wallet or in your purse that says, when shit hits the fan, if shit hits the fan, I might say when, but whatever, I can go to Nicaragua or Panama in this case, in the other case, with my family, and we can live there for the rest of our lives or until such a point we decide we want to come back. Charlie, to me, that's the best and least expensive insurance for your liberty, for your personal liberty that you will ever make. Yeah. I don't understand why everybody doesn't do it. I really don't. Everybody needs to do it. Everybody listening to your program needs to do it. Okay, they need to do it. They know they need to do it.
They know. I know. Everybody. You've got to have a backup plan. As Terrence McKenna says, if you don't have a plan, you become part of somebody else's plan. And that unfortunately has happened to a lot of Americans that are looking for an option in case things get bad. As you mentioned, it's easy to leave. It's not about leaving your country. It's about being able to stay in the place that you go to and not becoming an illegal alien there and getting treated poorly. Let's talk about Nicaragua, since you mentioned that you lived there for 14 years. I think a lot of people have some sort of idea in their head. They've never been there, but they have an idea of Nicaragua. I don't know. Sandinistas, or I mean, whatever is going through their mind. Oh, is it military run? Is it? Is there anything to do there? Or is it super poor? Is everybody, like, is the United Nations crawling around there trying to depopulate them? Like, what is the reality of Nicaragua? Because everybody I talk to who's been there says that it's great and that the government totally leaves them alone as long as they leave the government alone.
Yeah, you nailed it right on the end, Charlie. That's exactly right. If you leave the government alone, they leave you alone. They love. Here's what I would say. I mean, yes, it is Daniel Ortega. I mean, he probably is a Sandinista. Led the Sandinista revolution in the 70s and 80s to overthrow the dictator. Was president for 10 years. Had elections, lost. Was out of power for about 15, 16 years. Got reelected in 2006 and has been reelected ever since. And he's a strong man politician, right? He's a very strong man ruler. And I think there's sort of maybe I don't know, sure, anti-feeling about that in the U.S. government, right? And so they don't like that. But I don't know. It depends on I'm sorry. We don't have any problem with the Saudi guy cutting up a journalist and, right? I mean,
that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Friends, right? That's why.
Yeah, right. That's the Saudis. They're allowed to do that shit.
Yeah, they can do whatever they want.
Right. Exactly. They can do whatever they want. So we pick and choose which strong men leaders we support and which ones we're against, right? But the reason I love Nicaragua is they love Americans. They don't like American foreign policy. That's for sure. They actually vote almost entirely against the U.S. in the United Nations on everything. They align with Russia, Venezuela, Cuba, probably North Korea. I don't know. Anyway, but whatever. So
I like
if the U.S. Yeah, right. If the U.S. wants X, they want Y. I mean, it's this, right? So from a foreign policy perspective, the U.S. doesn't like them. They don't like the U.S. foreign policy. But they love Americans. They love Americans, especially because I have to say, almost every American I've ever really been in touch with down there really gets it. The analogy I use, if I came to your house, Charlie, you invited me to spend the weekend in your home, and Saturday morning I wake up, come out of my bedroom, and you and your wife are having an argument in the kitchen. You know what? I'm not joining that argument. I'm doing 180, going back to my room and turning the TV on up real loud. Like, not my house, not my fight, right?
Right.
And if we live that way as expats, our life in whatever country we're in will be way, way better because, like, not my house, not my fight. And I think most Americans who move to Nicaragua really get that and respect that. And so we are welcome there. I lived there for 14 years, as you mentioned. We started building homes there in 2004. Our first residents moved in at the very beginning of 2006. And they're still there. I mean, they have a wonderful life there. The cost of living is so silly inexpensive. I mean, like, silly inexpensive. Like, you can go out for a steak dinner at I would say, a normal Nicaraguan restaurant for under $10. I mean, you're going to get salad. You're going to get double starch. You're going to get potatoes and rice. I love it. Nice. Anyway, right? Right. But at a high-end steak restaurant, I mean, you're at, $40 for a steak. I mean, like, that's half just the steak at Ruth Chris, right? The steak at Ruth Chris is $80, right? I mean, you're going to get the same quality of steak for the whole meal for $40. And if you just want a nice steak dinner or a nice dinner out with some people, $8, $10, $12 will absolutely cover it. it's just so inexpensive to live there. Organic fruits and vegetables are literally almost free. We had a coffee sack of organic fruits and vegetables delivered. You gotta love it. It's delivered to our home every Tuesday morning when we lived there. It was $8. Charlie, if you go down to Whole Paycheck and buy a tomato, it's $8, right?
Know.
I mean, right?
It's crazy.
And so you start to think about the health benefits of eating organic. And this came from organic farms. So we would add meat and cheese and eggs and other stuff to our bag every week, whatever we wanted, right? And so literally we ate hormone-free open range, chemical-free, organic everything the whole bag with the meats and stuff might have been $40. I don't know. I mean, I'm making it up, but like a whole week's worth of food for a family of four, $40-$50. It was like, holy smokes, right? So anyway, the thing that I don't like about Nicaragua's residency program, I like it for a lot of reasons. And the main reason I like it is the fact that Nicaragua does this to the U.S., right? Like they're not gonna kowtow. They're their own economy. They have their own currency. The Treasury and the Fed can't really deal with them. I like that a lot. The thing that I don't like about the Nicaraguan residency program, for an example, is that you have to be there some. Like Panama, you can show up one day every 2 weeks, or one day every 2 years. I'm sorry. One day every 2 years, and you keep a permanent residency. Talk about easy. That's why I think it's the perfect back pocket residency, right? Throw it in your billfold. Forget about it. You got it, right? Show up there once every 2 years for a weekend and call it done. Nicaragua, you got to spend some time there. I can't remember all the details. We have it, and I can get it to you. It's not onerous. The other thing is it actually takes about 2 years to get your permanent residency. So like if you started today, 2 years from now, you'd have a permanent residency in in Nicaragua, right?
Right.
And I think from a liberty perspective, that's probably better, right? But if shit hits the fan in the next 2 years, like you won't have it, right? Yeah. So I think I'm really of two minds, and it's about $35,000. So it's 30,000 is short of your monetary qualification. The 5 is your legal and government fees to get the residency processed. But there you get an acre. Like you're actually going to get an acre of teak, and the return in 25 years is about 375,000. So you get more teak. Double the teak. Your return is double, right? Instead of 200, you get close to 400. And so like all the investment side of it is basically the same. It's just double. And so it's a little bit more. Instead of 22, it's 35. Instead of, a few weeks or a month, say 30 days to get your Panamanian by the time you get your documents and FedEx them and go down for your appointment, maybe 6 weeks, right? So 6 weeks in Panama, 2 years in Nicaragua. But both are available. And honestly, if I had 50 grand, I would probably do both. I would get my Panama, right? I would get that done
now.
Get it now, 6-8 weeks.
Start the process for
Nicaragua.
Yeah.
Start your process in Nicaragua. 2 years from now, you get your Nicaraguan. And then you have an acre and a half of teak that you spent 50 grand on that's going to be worth like whatever, 700, I can't do the math, 600,000, I don't know, something like that. In 25 years, right? So it's still a great investment, but you're going to get both. If I had 50 grand, that's exactly what I would do with it.
What do you think of Trump's golden passport?
Tell me, I don't even know. I don't watch the news, Charlie.
Oh, okay. Well, you're better off for it. But he came out and said, I want to do a United States golden passport, $5 million investment in the United States. It's going to cost, you're going to have to spend $5 million to get the passport.
Yeah.
But then you will be you will get citizenship in the United States. And he is of the belief that this will attract wealthy people that want to do things and build businesses inside the United States with a passport, that maybe they've been left out. It's not it's one of the ideas that I'm at least kind of listening to. I'm like, okay,
sure.
This is interesting. You've got an asset, right? I think these Caribbean islands have discovered this over the years.
Yep.
What do we have? We don't grow bananas. We don't grow mangoes. We're this little island out here and we don't do much of anything. What do we have? Well, we have citizenship. Yeah. We could monetize that. We could sell that. And it sounds like the United States has said, well, we have that asset as well, and it's worth a little bit more, so we could sell ours for $5 million. You think that's something that people would be interested in doing?
I actually think yes, I do. By the way, it sounds an awful lot like the old maybe E-1B or H-1B. I can't remember. Not H-1B. There was a visa program in the U.S. It was very similar to that. And I know because a lot of realtors have used it to help qualify people for a residency in the U.S. in the past. Basically, it was some amount of investment and the creation of 10 jobs.
Yes, I remember that.
Okay. So it sounds like maybe a modification of that program. I don't think that led to, it wasn't citizenship. Maybe it was a permanent residency that could lead to citizenship over time, right? Sort of a green card process to citizenship. So this sounds like it's just direct to citizenship, $5 million investment. Look, I think here's the bottom line. Like a lot of us in the U.S. are looking for, other safe havens, right? And I think having a plan B gives us options. It gives us real freedom. Because again, if we don't have a plan B, and like you said, we become part of someone else's plan, right? And if we don't like that plan and we can't leave, well, like it or not, we're part of whatever plan we're being planned on, right? Yeah. But the reverse is true, by the way. The U.S. is seen as the world of freedom. It certainly has been anyway, a lot freer than many places, and economically a lot freer than other places, right? So if you're looking at, just think of Argentina maybe is getting their, kind of getting their shit together with Milei down there, kind of, we'll see. But anyway, if you're from an Argentina, for example, or a Venezuela, right, or Colombia during the big drug gang stuff in the 80s, 90s, 2000, right? You said, gosh, even if it's not a freedom thing, it's a violence thing. God, I want to get my family out of Colombia. Like Pablo's running around here killing lots of people. I'm out of here, right? And I have $5 million. I get my citizenship in the U.S. and if you can spend $5 million on a citizenship, you can spend $20 million on that apartment in New York City we were talking about, right? So for $25 million, I got my beautiful apartment in New York City and my citizenship for me and my family, and my family's safe, right? Or safer, or whatever you want to say. So I think there's a lot of people around the world that view the U.S. as freer, safer, economically more stable, right? I was thinking Argentina with the inflation. Now you have a business there and everything's just rolling. So anyway, I think for a lot of reasons, yes, many people around the world are going to look at that and go, I want one of those and I have $5 million. I'm buying one. So I don't know that it'll generate very much money in the grand scheme of things against $1.7 trillion budget, but whatever. But the interesting thing, and probably has been thought about, but probably not said, is that it will be a brain drain on other countries. We will get the best and brightest, certainly the most entrepreneurial people from other countries coming here. And look, I'm a U.S. citizen. Just got my new passport yesterday.
Yeah, I got mine. I tried mine out on the way to Mexico this year. Got a brand new passport.
Okay. Well, my old one was running out of pages, right? So it wasn't even close to expiring, but the page was running out. So I just got it yesterday. I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm a resident of, look, let's talk about that for a second, right? Citizenship, residency, right? And I think a lot of times they're confused in people's minds. Citizenship means I'm a citizen, I vote, I have a passport. Residency just means I have a right to live somewhere, right? And and maybe I'll become a citizen of another country someday, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not too concerned about that. But I think I think the US is smart to attract talent, resources, wealth to it. And the $5 million visa or citizenship program sounds like a winner to me, Charlie.
Yeah. Be even better if we could sell our citizenship to somebody else.
Collect the 5.
Yeah, you want that? Maybe the government taxes you like crazy on it, but you go, hey, listen, you want to trade? Yeah. I'll take your $5 million. I'll be in Panama, Nicaragua, Belize. I'll be collecting residency, and eventually, especially in Belize, I'll be working on getting my passport. Let's wrap up with this. Let's talk about crypto, because you guys were the first developers to accept cryptocurrency for real estate. How is that going? Listen, if you're somebody that's watching this or listening to this and you're thinking, yeah, I've had a good run, made a bunch of money, got some but I can't, there's only so many gift cards I can buy with this Bitcoin that I've been sitting on for 8 years, maybe I want to turn it into something a little bit more tangible. Maybe I'd like to buy some real estate. Can they do that with you?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I think one of the reasons we were able to put together this board in Belize was simply because we started taking Bitcoin, 6-7 years ago, and other cryptos. We have a Coinbase wallet. The company has a Coinbase wallet, and I know people are, but anyway, it is what it is. We have to be transactional, right? So, so we have a Coinbase wallet. So any crypto that Coinbase takes, we take. So you can convert, move it in. Yeah, we take it 100% for real estate transactions, for the residency programs in Panama, Nicaragua. We take crypto for all transactions. You want to come stay at one of our resorts for a week? No problem. You can pay in crypto. So we've made it really, really easy for people who are into the crypto to transact with us, because we absolutely believe in the power of, hang on, I carry a lot of stuff in my wallet, Charlie, and I'm glad it was sitting here handy.
Got it.
But here you go. The reason we love crypto so much is this. Do you know what that is?
That's a $100 billion note.
From Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, $100 billion piece of paper, right?
Yeah.
Look, and we talk about monetary crisis, monetary train wrecks. Like, you just can't print the kind of money that the Treasury's been printing for all these good reasons, apparently, and not have it have impact. It's just how long will it take for the impact to, work its way in, right? But that's $100 billion. Is that $100 billion? Is that right? Yeah, $100 billion note. And in the end, literally it was, people would have to bring, armfuls of that to buy anything in Zimbabwe, or it was worthless, right? And so we take crypto because we retain crypto. Now, we don't retain a whole lot of it, because if somebody, let's say, for example, somebody buys a condo from us, right? About 80% of our or about 70% is a hard cost, where we actually have concrete, steel, windows, doors, right? And then we have another, soft cost, commissions we have to pay to our realtors and things like that. But we have about 20% profit, 21%. That's what we put in. So, by the way, if somebody wants to beat me up on a Marriott unit, I've got 21% to play with. So beat me up. Maybe we'll, but like at some point I'm going to go, well, I'm not interested. Like, I got to have a profit to stay in business, right? But we have a few points to play with. So if somebody wants to beat me up a little bit, but out of that 21%, we try to retain about half, maybe about 8%. I think our average is about 8% now. So somebody, whatever, but the other, what would that be? 92%, we actually have to convert into US dollars, because we got to go pay for stuff, bing, 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 right? But we believe in crypto as an organization, as a person. I believe in it. My business partner does, and leadership starts at the top. So both of us are, absolutely believe in the power of crypto. So we take it. The other thing I would just mention, depending on the size of the transaction, and I would say a Marriott would qualify. A teak residency wouldn't, right? But somewhere in the middle, there's probably a breaking point, right? If you have the Bitcoin and you don't want to sell it, we actually work with the group that put together the Marriott deal. Remember, the guy put up $100 million of Bitcoin, and we were able to borrow $42 million of cash, right? And he gets to keep his Bitcoin. And at the end, the loan gets paid back. He gets his Bitcoin back, and he's, $42 million plus interest richer in cash, right? And he got to keep his $100 million in Bitcoin. So on the Marriott units for sure, and somewhere in between it cuts, right? You can actually put up, and I think it's about a 3-to-1 ratio. So you'd have to put up $1 million of Bitcoin. You can quote unquote borrow the money to get your Marriott unit, and the $1 million of Bitcoin can stay in your bank account. Like, you never spend it. It's yours. And if it goes to 200,000 or 300,000 or $1 million Bitcoin, like, that's all yours. It's still your Bitcoin, nice. Right? And at any point, there's no prepayment penalty. You can liquidate it. You can say, "Oh, wow, Bitcoin's now 200,000. I'm gonna sell 2 Bitcoins and get my condo." Right? Yeah. So it's a great program for people who have a lot but don't want to allocate it, or don't want to, But the other thing is if you're heavy in Bitcoin, and U.S. fiat or Canadian fiat, I am also a big fan of diversification, right? And so having an international asset of some kind, especially one that would cash flow in dollars, in U.S. dollars, again, I think would be a good hedge against the unknown. We don't know. So international investment outside of your home country, I think, is always wise and prudent.
Yeah, man. I could imagine a scenario where someone puts up their Bitcoin, borrows against it to buy a place at the Belize Marriott, start that process, getting residency, starting to get eventually a passport there, all the while cash flowing because they're not there. Most of the time, you're renting it out for them, or the
use
Marriott
it a
front desk
couple weeks a year, right? Yeah,
and it's generating revenue while you're not even there. And then when you do get your passport a couple years from now, go down there, spend some time. Are there limitations on how long you can stay? Is it like 30-day max or something like that?
It's a total of 6 weeks. That's sort of what's in the writing. It's 2 weeks in the high season. That's pretty hard. It's 4 weeks in the low season. But low season, if you said, "Look, I want to come for 6-8 weeks," and nobody's going to, okay, come on, right? If you said, if I want to come for 6 weeks in the high season, I think that would be a hard no. But 6 weeks to usage a year, yeah, absolutely. And right, and now your Bitcoin presumably over that 5 years has gone from, what are we at, 80, 90,000 right now to a couple, 3, 4, 500,000, who knows, right? Or it goes to zero. It goes to zero. And you're like, ugh, but you now still have a condo in Belize. Whereas if you hadn't done the deal, your Bitcoin would be at zero and you would have nothing.
Yes, that's true.
Right?
It's a nice little hedge here.
Yeah.
And you get some additional side benefits too, as far as residency. I think people that are interested in Bitcoin for the reasons that it's sort of anti-bank and it's sort of pro-privacy, and you have your own reasons for liking it. Those are the same types of people that would be thinking about a secondary residency or a secondary passport and an additional residency. So I think it's a good alignment for you guys. I'm glad you guys have been doing that for a while, and obviously the Anarchapulco crowd appreciates the hell out of you for doing that, because they have a place where they can go spend some of their coins and wind up with a tangible piece of property. We got to have somewhere to live. Even the hardcore Bitcoiners acknowledge that. They just a lot of them want to hold on to it as long as they can and not spend it. But if you've got a system that allows them to hold on to it and not spend it, but maybe just sort of tie it up or borrow against it, if they've got a long enough term horizon for their investment, then hey, it works for them. I think it pencils out.
It does. And by the way, you talk about the Berwick group. About 60 of Jeff's folks bought tiny homes in Nicaragua, anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000 right after COVID, as sort of a plan B place to live, right? And 60 folks, and I think a great number of them, I don't know the number, but a great number of them used crypto for part or all of that transaction. The other thing, Charlie, I always mention is we take metals, right? We have a vault. We have a vault in Delaware. So if somebody says, I got $100,000 worth of gold, probably not, silver's probably too heavy to ship. But anyway, but I got $100,000 worth of gold, or 200,000. I want to use that as my purchase or deposit or whatever it is. We take that as well. So again, just something that's very unusual in the marketplace, but we're happy to accept, those kinds of metal and hard assets for the transaction.
Well, let's make sure that everybody knows where to find you. I know that in the show notes for all the episodes, I've always got ECI development down in there. You can click on that. I've got it at macroaggressions.io. You can go into our partners page and you'll see the logo for ECI development. You click on that, it'll take you. Where else would you send people to buy your book? Research this, to take a look, and would you send them through my links, or is there a better place to go? Or
yeah, Charlie, I'd like to bring them back through your links for a couple reasons. One, by the way, the book on Kindle is 99 cents, right? So
cheap as you can make it.
For a buck. If anybody here is thinking about anything overseas, investment, lifestyle, buy the book, 99 cents. It'll be so worth that. The paper copy, I think, is $20 or something, $19.99 or something. Anyway, but absolutely, that's on Amazon. Michael K. Cobb, How to Buy Your Home Overseas. By the way, a #1 bestseller in a whole bunch of categories. I'm really excited about that.
Yay.
And all 5-star reviews. And I know you were asking about 5-star reviews earlier. I don't ask people for a 5-star. I ask for a review. If you read the book and you like it, leave a review. All 5 stars so far, which is phenomenal. And it makes me feel good, because what it means is I've achieved the goal of my mission. And my mission, really, look, we're a development company. We sell real estate. I mean, it's what we do for our business, right? But my mission is something very different. My mission is to offer people a path to liberty. And we've been doing it now for 32 years, whether it was financial liberty with the mortgage company, property liberty. Like if somebody didn't have, back then, $150,000 to buy a condo, right? They could make a $30,000 down payment on something, and we were able to help them own $150,000 property, right? Yeah. So whether it was financial liberty with the bank, the nice thing about that is you open an account at Key Bank, you can keep your money in pounds, yen, sterling, Swiss francs, right? And we help a lot of people achieve that monetary security through that, right? But the liberty and security that we can provide as an organization, the residency programs in Panama and Belize and Nicaragua, right? So the book has really, wrapped a wrapper around each of these different elements of the kinds of liberty that we have been able to help people find, and we will continue to help people find. And just the fact that unsolicited, we've gotten all 5-star reviews tells me that it's not just me. I wrote it, but it's definitely a we thing, right? We are achieving our mission and really are very, very proud that we've been able to do that. So Charlie, I'd like people to come back to you, and here's why. I think at one point we set up an email address, and maybe you could run it. It was like maybe macro@ecidevelopment.com or something, whatever. Here's the reason people should come back through you. If they come back through you and they want the book, they can order a copy for $1, send me their mailing address, US and Canada only, and I will physically personalize a book and send it to them, a hard copy, right? So I'll do that if they come back through you. They can still buy one on Amazon. The other thing is if they're interested in any of the liberty options that we talked about, whether it's residency in Belize through a Marriott or Panama, Nicaragua through the TEAC, we're gonna make sure they get the absolute best discount possible. I'll know it's from you, and we will apply that, and we can figure it out. But I appreciate the fact that you've got folks listening to this podcast who care about their liberty, their freedom, their ultimate freedom. And if we can help them achieve that, we're going to do that however we can.
It'd be nice if we didn't have to think about these things, but unfortunately, the reality is we do. Yeah. And so if we are forced to have to think about plan Bs, let's get it right. Let's do it the smart way. Let's not screw it up and then go, oh, I should have read Mike's book first before I did this, or I didn't know about the TEAC stuff. I didn't know about, I had no idea. The point of this podcast is let's be proactive. There's nothing more proactive than doing something like this. It requires effort. You're not going to get it for nothing. You're not going to be able to just sit back and you're going to have to make the decision. that this is what you want to do, that it's the right move for your family, and nobody's going to pat you on the back while you're doing it in advance. It's not until you actually make that move or something goes wrong and then you've got it that everyone's going to say, you were a genius for doing this. I can't believe you saw this that far out and you did it in advance. And listen, worst case scenario, or, nothing bad happens. And then you've got residency somewhere else. And then you've got an investment somewhere else. Or then you've got a nice little vacation spot to go to somewhere else. But I don't see any of the downsides to this.
No, in fact, Charlie, it's funny. Right here, you mentioned that. I don't know if you can read that. It's called the credibility scale on page 51. Okay. Not only are people not going to care or not going to pay attention, when you tell somebody that you're buying a teak farm in Panama to get your residence, people are going to tell you you're crazy. And so I have a whole section there in the book called the credibility scale, where we just help people who do I really want to pay attention to? If the guy with no passport is telling me I'm crazy for doing it, we should just ignore that, right? Yeah. On the other hand, if you're talking to somebody who's got a residency overseas, maybe it's with teak, maybe it's not, but they have a residency overseas, we should actually listen to that person and give a lot of credibility to it, right? So anyway, there's a whole little section about that in there, but people will think you're crazy until shit hits the fan, and then they're going to think you're a genius. But you only get to be a genius if you're proactive today.
Yeah. And with 2/3 of Americans not even having a passport, there's a pretty good chance that the person telling you that you're nuts doesn't know what they're talking about. That's Mike Cobb, everybody. You can find all the links to ECI development down in the show notes, or you can go to macroaggressions.io and connect through our partners page. We appreciate him so much. It's always a pleasure to interact with you here or have breakfast with you in Mexico, and we'll see you next time. And if you guys want to connect with me, you know how to do it. If you want to follow me on X at Macroaggressions and on Instagram at macroaggressions_podcast. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you again soon.